Hey everyone, it's Jeff, and I know my voice sounds kind of destroyed right now, but had a fun day yesterday and I just took like 2 cough drops, so hopefully you can't tell a difference. I promise you, I'm not one of those guys who like talk with that super croaky morning voice all the time because it makes them sound sexy. Like, I actually legitimately lost my voice. Anyways, like and subscribe. And now, as for Cade Cunningham, obviously, as you can tell by the title, I love the guy, and I'm pretty sure anyone who's like ever even just watched a single clip of him loves that guy. I think it would be kind of stupid if the Pistons don't take him because this guy is like possibly one of the most complete basketball prospects we've seen like in a while, right? And just in terms of being extremely well-rounded, and of course, you know, he has weaknesses, but they're not like alarm bells, and his strengths are just super alluring. And he kind of reminds me of like a taller but like less explosive Markelle Fultz, who I didn't have like this platform back in like 2017, but Markelle Fultz is like possibly one of my favorite draft prospects ever, and I'm still like pretty heartbroken over how he turned out in the NBA because like I watch him play in the NBA sometimes, right? I'm like, this guy doesn't even have a jumper. Like, he literally can't shoot. And he didn't play for like 2 years, right? And he's still playing pretty freaking well for a guy who's almost like handicapped. And I'm looking at Cade right now, and while of course he is different from Fultz, I am kind of living my Markelle Fultz dreams vicariously through Cade Cunningham. So first off, the guy's a tank, right? He's 6'8", 220 pounds. We're seeing the game be dominated by these kind of 6'8", 6'9", 6'10", whatever, big guys who can handle the ball, who can score, who can play make. LeBron James, right? Luka Doncic, LaMelo Ball, Giannis, right? This is the direction that the NBA is heading towards, this full-on positionless basketball where if you have the skills, that's all that matters. When you're someone that's that big, you can, first of all, it's just a ton easier to make passes, right? Because you can pass over people. If you're shorter, like, you know, Trae Young, he's a fantastic passer, but sometimes I watch him play, right? And he gets into the paint and like he's swarmed by 3 defenders, and I know he sees someone, but he physically can't get the ball over to them because he's too short, right? He can't just jump up and throw the ball over someone's head. With Cade Cunningham, he can do that, right? Like, I've seen LeBron make those like super fast cross-court passes where, you know, take an overhead throw, like a soccer ball pass. Cade Cunningham can do that as well. And he pretty much already has like the passing vision and just game feel of an NBA point guard, right? For some guards, it takes them some time to kind of adjust and get their feel for the game up to the NBA level. Like, just to throw out a random example, Devin Booker. He came into the league and he wasn't a bad passer, right? But there were a lot of kind of open opportunities that he missed. And while Booker it's taken some time to kind of build up to that point, with Cunningham, the moment he steps onto the NBA court, he's already going to have like the vision to make NBA passes, right? Whether it's coming off a pick and roll on the wing and then zipping it over to the opposite corner for an easy 3-pointer, or it's just something like just dribbling at the top of the key, right? And just watching your NBA offense kind of unfold, and he's seeing one guy cut to the basket, and if he's not open, his progression automatically just switches over to the next play in his team's offense, right? Where it's maybe now it's a screen that's coming up for him, and he goes off of that, and first he has to check if his roller is open, and if he's not there, then he swivels over to like the weak side corner again. And if that guy's not open, then it's Cade just like taking to the basket by himself, right? Like, it's kind of like moving through progressions. If you're an NFL QB, you have like a first option, second option, third option, right? Cunningham can process those NBA level progressions fast, like already. Like, I've seen him make a ton of passes in college where I'm like, yeah, those same opportunities are going to be there in the NBA, right? And if he's going to do that consistently, then he's going to average like 7 assists a game. Like, I think Cunningham's passing is better suited to the NBA's more up-tempo, upbeat style because he only averaged like 3.5 assists in college, right? But whenever I saw Cade like in the open court and he's doing that kind of like misdirection pass where he's looking one way and then he passes the other direction, so it's not really a no-look because he's more like just moving defenders with his eyes and then, you know, looking at who he's passing to. But that's an NBA skill. Like, that's something a lot of NBA players can't do. And the way he's able to just kind of find pick and roll like rollers through any which way possible is just also extremely impressive, right? He can hit his like roll man off a ton of different angles, whether it's just like a one dribble, wrap around bounce pass, or he jumps in midair and then he throws one down low. And he's able to lead his target to the open area. Like when he's in open court sometimes, you'll see him throw passes to the corner and his recipient is still running, right? Like he throws his man open. And as for how he scores the ball himself, it's very smooth. It seems very calculated, where it's kind of just like satisfying to watch him score because it looks kind of effortless, right? I think it's kind of similar to James Harden, where Cunningham is, a big, strong guy, and the way he's able to control his pace when he's driving towards the basket and use his size to sort of knock defenders off balance but not have it be an offensive foul is really promising. He does that thing where it's like he kind of leans into his defender right before they jump, so then when they do jump, they're like off balance then, right? And his size it gives him an advantage because it's just so rare to see a guy who's that big and that skilled fail in the NBA, especially with how good his jumper looks. In one word, it's smooth. Like, that's how I can describe it. He looks really comfortable shooting off the catch too, right? So he can play some shooting guard in NBA as well, where his size would also help him there because now he can cut to the basket as well and gain some easy fouls that way. Fouls is another thing because, like I said, he's a big guy, right? And free throws are some of the most consistent ways to score. So that's also just a huge positive for him. And while he's not like Jason Tatum in terms of just like shooting a bunch of contested, super like high difficulty, off the dribble Kobe shots, basically, Cunningham has made enough of those kind of just basic off the dribble pull-ups from off a screen and it's open three-pointer. He shoots it without hesitation. Or it's just like he sees an open spot in the mid-range, he'll move to it and elevate. He doesn't really waste a lot of like time or motion. So that's another thing that will translate pretty well to the NBA level, in my opinion. Like, he averaged 20 points per game and shot over 40% from 3 in college. As a freshman, I don't care if he went to Oklahoma State, right? Those are impressive numbers. Defensively, like, the ceiling is also pretty freaking high there too. He's big, 6'7", 6'8", whatever. Like, as I said like 1,000 times by now, I don't know what his wingspan is, but he looks pretty long to me, right? And he has a just good overall head and feel for the game. On defense, he plays passing lanes pretty well. He's going to have a lot of defensive versatility, and I say this all the time, but when you're that big and you're just not an idiot, and when you're as smart as he is, it's hard to be bad on defense. Like Luka Doncic, people like to pick on him and say he's bad at defense, but he's really not. Like, the fact that Luka is just so big and smart enough that Luka is not a defensive liability. Like, sure, if you put Luka on like a really quick guy like De'Aaron Fox, he'll probably get burned, but if you just try to like go at Luka every single play, your offense is gonna suck because Luka is not an idiot. And I do think Cade is better than Luka on defense, right? Because even though like Cade, one of his weaknesses as a prospect is he doesn't really have elite athleticism or just kind of above average athleticism at all. But in this day and age in NBA, right, I feel like athleticism is never really like that big of a deal anymore. I always view it as a positive in a player, right? But if you're just like super slow, unless you're just like extremely, extremely slow, it's never really that much of a negative to me either. It's kind of like, if you're a freak athlete, cool. But if you're not, that's fine because there are so many NBA players that can dominate without being great athletes. So while I do think that if you have Cunningham on your team, right, you probably will need like a shorter, very like wiry, skinny, quick guy as like your secondary defender, because Cunningham will struggle against like the shorter, quicker guys like Trae Young, for instance, or De'Aaron Fox, who's not so much quick as he is just extremely, extremely fast. Or even like Ja Morant, right? Like just guys like that, like yeah, he's gonna struggle. But other positions, like the majority of NBA players, like 95% of the NBA, he will be just fine against them. I've also heard that from like just various draft profiles, whatever, doing my research, that his handle isn't the best. It can be sloppy, and they kind of question if he has the ball handling polish right now to be like an elite off the dribble creator, right? In isolation, where you see guys like let's say Jason Tatum again. He does that little like between the legs move like 4 times in a row, and then he goes left and he crosses over. Or it's like KD, right, who does that kind of like Tim Hardaway cross where he goes between the legs and then it's a really hard, sharp crossover where Cade's arms are so long. It's just this really crazy move to watch, and then he pulls up. A lot of scouts are kind of they're wary of Cunningham's just like sheer one-on-one off the dribble creating ability, and I think that's fair because I also, I haven't really seen Cade Cunningham pull off any of those like really impressive ball handling sequences where he's going behind the back and just dribbling through like 3 or 4 guys. At the same time though, it just kind of feels like that's not really his game, right? Like he's one of those guys who plays very well within the flow of an offense. And in the flow of most offenses, there isn't really a guy just kind of dribbling around for like 7 or 8 seconds and then shooting something. And plus, because like he's so big, right? Like of course, if you want to score 30 points per game, you will need to be able to do that. But just to get to like, let's say 23, 24 points per game, right? Something like that. When you're as like big and strong as him, and he still is a decent ball handler, of course, as long as Cunningham is just going downhill, right? He's going to be a threat. Like it doesn't even matter if he's beating his man downhill, if his man is just like staying even with him. As long as he's going downhill, he's going to be a threat to score because he has that little mid-range step back to his game, right? And he is a great finisher around the basket. So these are definitely like flaws, right? But I'm just not that worried about them. I'm not saying you should ignore them. I'm just saying these aren't red flags. If Detroit doesn't take him, I would just laugh and laugh because I've heard rumors that they like Jalen Green and Evan Mobley too. And those are fine prospects. But I think without question, out of anybody in this draft, Cunningham has the highest percentage and highest chance to become a franchise player because he has all the tools to be one. And he's the closest guy to being one right now. There should be no like questions about his fit on a team because he's so versatile, right? Like I said a million times already, Cunningham is skilled enough to do pretty much anything you want him to do. I don't know if he's going to be like a generational player like LeBron James or Luka Doncic, right? Of course, because there's a level of scoring that I don't quite know if Cunningham will get to. But in terms of just being like a top 15 player, I think Cunningham has a superb chance of becoming that. And don't forget, you don't need to have like one of these top 5 players to win a championship. A lot of people think that and believe that, but that's not true. Anyways though, that's my Cade Cunningham take. I was extremely happy and excited to watch him play and do research on him, and I just love him as a prospect.